Hello, I'm Namisila Pamela Ngubane, and this is the Entity Dynamics podcast. Entity Dynamics is a culture development consultancy where we believe that culture creates behavior and behavior creates reality. So the title of this video is Worshipping a Social God versus Worshipping the Creator. Okay, so this is something I've been thinking about, and then I came up with the term social God to explain what it is that I want to explain here. So, in my view, most humans on earth at this time worship a social God. Okay. Now, the difference between a social God and a creator God is that, well, in what I mean by social God here, is that a social God is a God who is concerned primarily, if not wholly, with what a person does externally, is concerned with the external life of the devotee. Okay. Whereas the creator is concerned with the internal life of the devotee. Okay. So I do believe, though, that the reason why so many people on earth worship a social God is that creator gods, or even social gods who were aligned with the creator, or I'm not creator gods, creator aligned gods, or even social gods who were aligned with the creator. I believe that in the majority of cases, it's what's happening on earth now, is that the paths that they came to teach were hijacked. Okay. And then they were basically brought into the service of a system of devotion to a social God, a God that is concerned with people's external lives. Okay. So when you are a devotee of a social God, what is of primary concern to you is how you behave externally, how people perceive you, and how you are placed in the pecking order of the world. Okay. And so what you will find is that your issue is about how people treat you, about justifying how you treat others, about being served and extracting from the earth and others, and using that social God theology to justify it. And then also about justifying yourself when you are doing things which would undermine the rights and well-being of fellow humans, the earth, and, even yourself. Okay. Whereas if you are worshiping the creator or a creator aligned God, right, the issue and the concern is with your internal world. Okay. When it's about your internal world, it's about how you treat others is probably the prime indicator of your alignment with the creator or the creator aligned God. Okay. And that when you are in alignment, the way you will treat people is basically how you would want to be treated. Like how Christ said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Okay. The social God is more concerned with how do your social interactions advance your material well-being, essentially. So people who worship a social God are people who are inclined to be focused on material things and can be quite materialistic, okay? Because the internal life is not really of concern. The internal life is alluded to as a way to kind of justify what is going on externally. Okay, so they will use the truth, okay, of the creator aligned God's path that has been hijacked and made into service of whatever social God that is being served, right? Or at least a created social God that is put in the place of the creator aligned God. Okay. So the reason why this is important, obviously, is because, as I say, culture creates behavior and behavior creates reality. How you see your creator or how you see God, because a lot of people who worship a social God think they're worshiping the creator. They think this is what the creator is about. The creator is obsessed with a woman's role in the house is this, a man's role in the house is this. A woman must submit to her husband, a man must be the head of the household, right? Concerned utterly with the external machinations of this family system. Internal workings of human beings are not the primary concern of devotees of a social God. Okay. If there's abuse in the house, if there's belittling in the house, if there is drug abuse, porn abuse, if there is abuse of the children, if there's misuse of finances, all these things, the people who worship a social God will say, no, that's domestic issues. You don't get involved in people's private lives. It's between the man and his wife. Whereas people who worship the creator God will say that if the spiritual, mental, financial, and material well-being of a person is being undermined in family dynamics, those family dynamics, even though they are sanctioned by the social God, become invalid if they are facilitating the oppression of one of the family members. Okay, so the creator God is all about the internal life. And what's very important, and this is where I came to actually think about this, is that when you worship a social God, you are able to assume the position of a victim in your situation. This is why you see people like Christian nationalists, like the ones who supported Donald Trump, like the white supremacists that we saw and see in South Africa. These are prime example of people who worship a social God. Okay, there is no interest on these people's part on how they treat other people and how other people are made to feel by their behavior. Okay, their social God system basically says, whatever you do to bring prestige to yourselves and to your God, the social God, and to the culture, the civilization that you are a part of, is justified. Okay, the ends justify the means utterly. Okay, even if it means taking the name of Jesus in vain and associating him with all sorts of evil crap, do it. It's fine. Okay, if these people are encountered by Christians, for example, who are seeking to worship the creator in line with what Christ actually taught, because Christ came to teach that the creator is who is to be worshipped, not the social God that the Pharisees and Sadducees were worshipping. And for example, when he talked about the Sabbath, he said the Sabbath is there to serve man, not for man to serve the Sabbath. That is a very good illustration of this social God versus the creator dichotomy. Okay, the social God is all about what you are doing on the Sabbath and how you fit into these social constructs and niceties and how you behave externally, how you look. That's why he said, don't be like the Pharisees who like to wear long robes and who stand on the corners of the streets praying and whatever. Don't be like that. Those are all external actions, right? He was like, pray inside your closet. What? Internal life, right? Pray within. Don't be overtly showy about your devotion. Your devotion it's an internal process. It's an inside process, right? This is where Christ would be in agreement with the saying, the revolution will not be televised, because it's an internal revolution, right? So, these people, the Christian nationalists, for example, the Christian Zionists, the Zionists, any sort of religious extremist person, any person who has any sense of idea that they are superior to their fellow human being based on externalities like race, creed, sex, gender, whatever, age, ability or disability of the body. These are all people who worship a social God. Okay, so my point is, when you worship a social God, being a victim is a perfectly legitimate position for you to be, because it's all about externalities. It's that external person who made me like this. It's that external system that is affecting me. Whereas the creator God will say, yes, you are experiencing this situation, but you still have free will, because free will is the fundamental cornerstone of creation. And we all have the ability to choose. Okay. So I think it's very important that we really understand that it is the internal life which is the reality, and it is focusing on our internal selves that will lead us to become in alignment with the creator. And in part 2, I'm going to explain why it's so important to be in alignment with the Creator.